Hey guys, it's DK. Daniel's back again. I'm a YA author um, who writes LGBT fiction, and we're about halfway through my Christmas book, Chasing Christmas, which we've been reading consecutively now for 9 evenings, and it's went pretty well the last couple of evenings. Um, Hi to everybody who's came back multiple times. It's great to see you guys. Um, Thanks, of course, for showing up continually. But anyway, as I said, we've been reading my book, Chasing Christmas. And yeah, it's been quite a thrilling experience, I tell you that much. But anyway, um, we'll wait for a few minutes and I'll do a few bits and bobs to pass a bit of time while I wait for people to filter in, and then we'll get to writing. Then we'll get to reading. Hi, Damon. Um, I feel really enthusiastic for you calling me DK. um, but yeah, anyway, I'll get into a quick recap and I'll get all that the way. So in the last chapter, the group, the boys, they headed straight for the mall and food court and whatnot. And Jack and Noah, they wandered around the deserted mall looking for Christmas presents um, for Elijah and also for Jack's girlfriend, Samantha. And they end up in this arts and crafts or hobby shop, I suppose you could call it. And and the Jack strikes up a conversation with Noah, and it's not a conversation that he was expecting to have get from his best friend, of course, because Jack theoretically asks, "Do you know that Elijah is gay?" And it's not a conversation that he definitely wasn't expecting to get from his best friend, who's probably the most straightest acting person in the entire world. But yeah, in the upcoming chapter, it's just more or less of a bit of a bonding scene, because after this scene, it's kind of like an avalanche, and it just keeps going afterward because of what Lucas did earlier on in the story. And yeah, it's kind of a rush to the finish then. But in this chapter, the boys all grab something to eat in the restaurant across the way, and they get a large pizza, and everybody is, dividing what they want on it, and they talk about movies and games and life in general. And that's until a topic surfaces that makes Elijah uncomfortable, and then he balks away from the table, which then eventually leads up to the action of the um well, the ending of the book. If you have read the book, you know what happens, but it starts to go drastically downhill from there, and things are not exactly happy anymore. But yeah, I'll just get this out of the way before I get onto anything else. If you didn't already know, I'm giving away 3 copies of my book, Chasing Christmas. I'll be signing it too, and I'll be sending it out tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day. Um, so all you have to do is be on my mailing list, picked from a random lottery, and I'll be sending them out most likely um, on the Saturday, the day after tomorrow. And yeah, so if you fail to sign up, then I can't include you in this. But if you're interested or know anybody that's interested in getting a free signed copy of Chasing Christmas, then definitely get them to sign up. You'll always get the information and stuff about my new books and whatnot through my mailing list. It's probably the best way you could actually receive updates from me, because I'll admit I'm not brilliant at updating social media. I have absolutely no interest in social media, but I guess, um, yeah, I gotta kind of up my game there a small bit so that folks can keep up with me. But anyway, how has everybody's day been? Is everybody looking forward to Friday? I'm looking forward to Friday. my boyfriend, who's working on the other side of the country, back down this side of the country, so I get to see him. So that's cool. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, so I don't know what we have to do during the weekend. I probably have to get a haircut. So yeah, it's gotten quite thick. But yeah, what do you have planned for the weekend? Might try do a bit of exploring if I can find a minute that's not Christmas shopping or you know other humanly duties. That's not enjoying yourself. But anyway, while we're waiting for a few minutes, I thought I'll have a read of this. It's my little book. While we're waiting for a few minutes, it's all different types of inspiration that I've picked up over the way, are I mean, stories or films that I've really liked, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to share a few bits with you guys. I mean, you might find a film that you might like, or you know, something that might, you can see why I have this particular style or something. I don't know. But in general, I just seem to like, even with media in general, I seem to like European cinema a lot more than like American cinema, because American cinema is just always too perfect in my sense. Whereas more European cinema it just seems raw in a lot of sense, especially films that come from the likes of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Germany. Those middle countries there seem to be a lot more darker, or gritty, I suppose you could say. But anyway, one thing that a lot of people might be familiar with is, on a lot of my books I include soundtracks. And I try to offer a wide variety of music that kind of be suitable for everybody, but me, I'm kind of more of a musical kind of indie pop kind of guy. But there's a couple of soundtracks that would always be perfect in any book I write, and these are here. So basically I have 10 films or game soundtracks or whatever from anywhere that I've ever come across, and they always bring me to either tears or I mean, joy and happiness. And I've probably used quite a few of these in multiple of my works, so I just thought I'd share them. So in no particular order, I think these soundtracks are pretty much flawless in the way that the composer has built up tension, and I mean, it makes you care more about the characters and stuff. And if my books could have the near next thing to a soundtrack, I'd include, I mean, these in my book. So the first one is Detroit Become Human. It's a video game by the gaming studio Quantic Dream. They're responsible for a game called Heavy Rain as well, and Beyond Two Souls. Yeah, I think it's called Beyond. But also this one, Detroit Become Human, which is they're more kind of a branching narrative kind of game, which is more focused heavy on story. So you can see why I love that. But the soundtracks are really, really nice in these video games. But this one's definitely I mean, the top of the heap. But okay, and then the next one is The Impossible. If you've ever seen The Impossible, I went to see it in 2012 when it first came out. I was like 14, no wait, yeah, probably about 15 or 16, probably. I don't know. And that was the first time I came across Tom Holland in a movie as well. But yeah, I see it on New Year's Day, and the soundtrack and everything about it was just perfect, especially the soundtrack that stuck with me. Family film with I think is it Mark Wahlberg? I think it's Mark Wahlberg, and you have Ella Fanning and Scarlett Johnson, I think it is that's in it, and the young Colin Ford. Next one is Life is Strange 2, which is another video game. Monster Calls, which is a movie from 2016. It's based on a book as well, the same name, about a kid who starts seeing this monster that keeps appearing to him every night, and it's theoretically his conscience that's eating away at him because of his mother is dying of cancer. Um, and the monster is kind of a self-reflection of himself, like, yeah. But then the next one is 28 Weeks Later. That's kind of very, like, it's nearly pure rock. So, but it's kind of cool. It really fits the vibe. Then Let the Right One In, which is on its own a really nice film, but the soundtrack just really kind of captures isolation. The sound and the melodies are, yeah, it just, going back when I think of that movie, it always reminds me of myself. Just the music alone, of how lonely I kind of was when I was a teenager. I saw that film when I was actually like, 14 or something like that, and it really resonated with me at the time. But looking back at it now, I realize how depressing and it really is. But when you read the book, you realize how fucked up the book is compared to the movie. But still, the book is still good. It's like Stephen King kind of messed up, kind of, yeah. But then, of course, The Last of Us. And then there's a film called Fluke, which is about a dog, about a man who dies and comes back as a dog, and the music from that is really, really nice. Samuel L. Jackson was also in the film as well. He played a dog called Rumbo, which, I mean, it was always kind of sweet and amusing when you'd hear his voice in the movie. But yeah, it's about this guy trying to find his family. It reminded me a lot of the film Jack Frost, the Christmas film Jack Frost. But yeah. And then, of course, then there's a film called Verdoscadile, which is a German film called The Crocodiles. It came out in 2009, I think. Yeah, 2009. And it's kind of like the Little Rascals meet, I don't know. It's just kind of like a more grown-up versions of the Little Rascals kind of thing. But all these kids, they're kind of adventurous and, always getting up to trouble and mischief. And you also have a solo from a band that I used to follow when I was when I was like 12 or so, called Apollo 3. They no longer really kind of exist. They kind of all, I think they've disbanded and they've went their own way. But I remember one year I asked my boyfriend, I never actually got a CD of of this band, and I remember I sent him on a wild goose hunt trying to find just their first album, just for the sake of having the first album as more or less a keepsake of my younger years. And miraculously, he found it, but he said it was very difficult to find. But yeah, you could probably look up some of their songs on YouTube as well. You'd probably find them. They're called Apollo 3. Um, but yeah, so that's soundtracks. And of course, if you didn't know, I thought when I was writing Chasing Christmas, I thought of ending it on a kind of a heartbreaking moment or a sad moment before I actually extended it past the scene where Noah and the group rescue Elijah. I had originally a story around there after they went under the bridge, and I end up expanding on it, I think, the following year, and it just grew more and I had a better ending. But originally the idea was is that when they were rushing him, Jesse Tillman would have slashed his face or something like that with the penknife that he had, and it would leave Elijah permanently scarred, and he would no longer like speak to him, and yeah, their friendship would never kind of work out in that way. And I thought that was kind of a bit harsh and it'd be depressing. But I decided I'll just share. I have 4 or 5 other heartbreaking endings that I've ever seen in movies or games that I thought I'd just share real quickly. And then after this, then I'll jump into Chasing Christmas. It's just, I don't think anybody else is going to really turn up after this one. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you think is the most heartbreaking ending you've ever seen in a movie. These are my ones, but okay. So the gas chamber in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. That's probably one of the most heartbreaking endings I've ever seen in any form of fiction. And then the second one is PETA Returns from Man on Fire, which Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning has been kidnapped, and he gets her back, and he basically trades places with her. But yeah, that's definitely a very sad ending. There's a film called Nahori, I think it is. I don't know how you exactly say it. I think it's a Polish short film, but there's this boy who's being blackmailed in the film to basically send explicit images of himself to this unknown person who's on his phone, and he's kind of being pressured, saying that he'll leak his other nudes or whatever it is, and the unfla ends up, complying with this other person online, and eventually, the parents, because he's been acting really edgy and he's, panicking all day, the parents take the phone off him, and they put it up to the front of the car while they're up on the bonnet of the car, or not the dashboard when they're driving, and it vibrates and it goes off. Saying that, if you don't tell me, or if you don't give me what I want, I'm gonna leak you or whatever it is. And the mother ends up picking it up because the uncle is kind of panicked, and the mother ends up starting to read some of the messages or whatever it is, and then she starts explicitly saying, "What is this?" And eventually, they start to realize that he's been sending explicit images of himself to somebody. And in panic, the young wants to get out of the car, but he didn't tell the father that he wanted the car to stop, and he opens the back door of the car, and goes straight out the door. But as he's doing this, another car is going by on the other side of the road, and he basically dives out of the car in front of an oncoming car, and he gets killed straight away. But yeah, that was the most sudden ending I've ever seen in a film. Um, Another film that really got to, well, not got to me, but was interesting, was there was a French film called Custody. There was an attempted murder toward the end. The mother and father were getting a divorce, and because the father was, misogynistic, and he couldn't use his son to get back at the wife, he decided, after a party, I think it's like a quinceañera kind of thing, his daughter was having, he showed up at the party, and he told him to get out, and then he decides to take the revenge out then on the mother and the young son at the ending of the film. And they're alone in their apartment, and he's banging on the front door, and she's like, you have to go away or whatever it is. And eventually he comes back with a rifle, and he's shooting through the door. And the the son and the mother, the two of them, were holding the door at the time, to stop him from kicking the door in, because he was kicking the door in previously. And then he shot the rifle, and the rifle nearly basically takes the kid's head off. The bullet, you know what I mean? It's a very just the adrenaline just goes through the roof in that last couple of minutes. And then I have a film called The World Trade Center with Charlie Sheen in it. It's probably one of the only serious films I've ever seen Charlie Sheen in, which is the collapse of the World Trade Center. Charlie Sheen is left it's the film centers of this group of people all stuck in an elevator during the 9/11, and Charlie Sheen ends up getting he sorry, all of the people end up getting out of the elevator, and there's a man on top of the elevator who's not getting them all out, and he can't get out then all of a sudden, because he's went down a small bit in the elevator shaft, and the fireman decides to stay behind and help him. And just as he gets the roof open and he's putting his hand down to pull him up, you hear the building collapsing. And you theoretically, the two of them just kind of reach for each other's hands, and they hold each other's hands, accepting their fate. And I think that was definitely a very sad ending as well, for one of the stories. Okay, and I promise this is the last one now. There's a film called Adieu, which is about refugees. It's set. I think it's. I, I think I can't remember. It's a country on Northern Africa. I can't remember which country it is now. I'm not too sure whether it's Casablanca or something like that. But I think they're trying to get to Spain, um, and yeah, there's this young boy who's went through turmoil. His mother has been killed, and his sister has been. She's also been killed as well, and they've been separated and that and everything. And then he comes across this older boy who's probably like 4 or 5 years older than him. So the young fella is probably about 8 or something like that. And this young fella is a teenager. He's about 14, 15. And just to get by and that and everything, he basically becomes his big brother, and he ends up prostituting himself, and he gets, I think it's AIDS, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it's AIDS he gets. And he still has, before he dies, he wants to get the young fella across the border as kind of a self-sacrifice. But he starts thinking that maybe once he gets across the border that he will get medical help, basically by seeking asylum. But when he does get to the border, they take the young fella and they just send him back, and the separation is really jarring, and I mean, it's very sad. But I guess that's me. I just like sad things, but I should definitely write some more sad things in my story. But anyway, yeah, I'll I'll make a start on this anyway, so I'll probably have bored you long enough. But okay, so we're on chapter 11, which is 203 in a book, if you have the book. Okay, so as soon as we came through the door, the boys hollered and jeered at us from the boot. There was still a frown on Lucas's face. He still had a pouty face. Is he still in one of his moods? Seriously, he needs to get over himself. Lucas is so stubborn at times. His little fiasco has gone on long enough. It's been like an hour or two since the boys chased us, all because of him. It's hard to do this, but Lucas is too moody. I had chosen to let it go, and he should decide to give it a go as well. Yeah, it was ill timing on his behalf, but the day has gone on since those guys have went. So why can't he just move on? Approaching the boot with Jack at my side, I asked energetically, trying to get rid of any of the awkwardness lingering on from our conversation Jack and I had. So, guys, what we eating? I said, walking over to the table. Elijah was sitting on the left side with Lucas in the middle. Adam sat on the outside, and on the right side it was just Ben. As Jack slid in beside Ben, Ben looked up at me and asked, "Can we get a pizza?" Appreciation for pizza really emanated from within his tiny head. Ben's eyes were the focal point of that decision. I, for one, can't turn down a good pizza. The Italians know what they were doing, so that commodity is like the best thing since, I don't know, a bed. Not that there is any relationship between pizza and a bed. Of course, Mom would never allow it, so that idea is entirely bogus. Crouching down and shimmying into the small slot beside Jack, I glanced across the table to Ben, and then Jack immediately piped up. Pizza sounds nice. I asked, "Pizza?" in question. I raised my eyebrows and set about trying to figure out what had led the boy to this conclusion. The fast food giant has more than just Italian to offer. I guess if that counts for two people wanting pizza, then I think I'm the third person to want it. Moving across to the far side of the table, Adam said, "Get mushrooms and peppers on it." I'm not a fan of mushrooms, but I didn't exactly like them. I could just take them off. But Ben cut in and desperately disapproved. I don't like mushrooms or peppers. If Ben had some sort of super sidekick powers that had access to my brain, he had better tell me now, because it's funny how he doesn't like mushrooms and peppers. The last time, if I remember correctly, he and I didn't like mushrooms. Plus, him not preferring peppers at all, whereas Lucas and Adam devour anything. I guess similar tastes really do run in the family. But the twins began to start a little spat again between them. Their skills are masterfully comical. I'm sick of eating margarita, Adam whined. That would have made sense as I figured his appetite to be plain and picky. Adam has always been a picky child whenever he was around or on social outings. At family gatherings, Adam always said, "No, I don't like my food touching," or "I don't like ketchup on my fries." The entire family now know not to place fries and spaghetti on the same plate, or how Adam likes to have his tomato sauce. It has to always be on the rim of the plate and not directly on top of the fries. I'll admit that is a little creepy that I know my cousin's preferred dish, yet I don't know the first thing about my actual brother liking fries. It doesn't matter. We're not even halfway around the table to find out what people want, and the two twins are already taking over. It's like they think the entire pizza belongs to them. One wants margarita on it, and the other wants an entire Mexican festival on top. Admittedly, we want to accommodate everyone, and I definitely want to provide for Elijah because a cute boy has got to love pizza. From numerous visits to this restaurant, I know the largest they sell is an 18-inch. I guess you could say that is enough for all of us. So if we get two slices each, then that would work out even. Okay, hold up, I said, letting my arms wander out in front of my body to present an idea more elaborately. If everyone gets a taste of their favorite toppings on a portion of the slab, then everyone would be satisfied. Starting off with Jack, I shifted to him and pointed my index finger at him. With a nod of my head, I asked, "Will you eat pizza?" With a slight nod, Jack stated yes. Immediately, I cut in, "Okay, what flavor?" Jack said, "Ham." Shimmying around Jack, I leaned on the table and glanced around to see Ben. Ben sat back in the rest, so I could talk to my cousin. "What do you want? Do you just want cheese?" Ben didn't say anything. He just affirmed with a nod of the head and a cheeky smile. And then, wasting no time, I looked over toward Adam and sat back in my seat. "Mushrooms and peppers," I mumbled to myself. I didn't need to waste any more time asking whether I wanted pizza or not. All I know is that I don't wish to have mushrooms as a topping. Moving on down the line, I decided to avoid Lucas for the moment and went straight to Elijah. "What do you want on your pizza, Elijah?" I asked apprehensively. Asking a boy what he wants on his pizza is like asking, "Do you want to go out on a date?" Italian food, as you know, is featured in every romantic date since the dawn of time, and even as to prove its existence, it's used in the movie Lady and the Tramp. I secretly hope that Elijah likes the same flavor as me, so that in the future the two of us can order the pizza and not have any disagreements about how to manage the proportions. That way, if he gets sick of eating, I can eat his slices. My suggestion was disapproved. Elijah shook his head from side to side. "What? Elijah doesn't want to have pizza? Seriously? He's not going to have pizza with us?" "I don't really like pizza," Elijah said. "What? Really?" I murmured. Shrugging his shoulders, Elijah said, "Yeah, I've never had a craving for it." Placing both his hands down on the table, Jack cupped his head into the narrow gap between the clamps. Jack reacted to it, put up a smile on everyone's face. The guys didn't believe that Elijah did not like pizza, and to be honest, I think he is the first person I have ever come across who does not like it. I guess if you didn't love pizza, it's understandable, but not liking it at all, it's a little weird, I think. Everyone smiled at Jack's disbelief when he asked Elijah to clarify his statement. "You certain you don't like pizza?" Jack scratched his head. Adam let out a short giggle. I set myself a warning on the inside. I felt like I'm smiling on the inside. Yeah, I don't exactly know how you can smile from the inside, but it feels like it. Everyone should be trying to make the most out of the situation and make everyone feel welcome. Lucas sat there in the corner with a stupid frown. I know that Lucas is actually smiling on the inside. Lucas would not pass up this opportunity to laugh. Have you ever had one of those moments where you feel like you want to smile at a serious moment or laugh about it because you find it amusing, but you know you shouldn't because you're trying ever so hard not to do it? That it makes it next to impossible to actually stay serious? Yeah, that's what I imagine Lucas is doing right now. With the embarrassment, Elijah grew sheepish. Sorry, just one second. Sheepish. Elijah offered up, I guess I just haven't eaten a little lot. Yeah, I suppose that is kind of typical of Jack. If he doesn't believe something that you say to him, he will forever plague you until the answer he is looking for comes out of you in frustration. The answer Jack is searching for is that you must eat pizza and that life is not complete without it. I reckon that's true. There is no life without Italian. Deciding that the entire interaction has gone on long enough, I looked across to Jack and then back to Elijah and asked, Hmm, okay, Lucas, what do you want? I thought that it would be best to give Elijah a minute to think about what he wanted to get. I won't hold anything against him for not liking pizza. I don't like a lot of foods, and if I didn't want to eat them, I just wouldn't eat them. And if pizza is not Elijah's forte, then who am I to judge? It is a little saddening that I can't share a delicious meal with an adorable boy if he ever wants to come in my direction. The thought of what Jack had said earlier still lingers. What if Elijah is really gay? Well, let me see. Let's run through the thing again. Elijah is pretty for one, and something I have learned is that a lot of gay guys are like pretty. Not that, no, that doesn't sound right. Gay guys cannot just be merely beautiful. Straight guys are pretty too. Hot, even. Then again, gay guys are hot as well, so where do you draw the line? Elijah has always dressed nice, of course, but so do ordinary people, and by ordinary people I mean who is not stuck up or too reserved. The bro like guys are the closest to normal, right? The ones who are jocks, the ones that are always playing sports and have the hottest blonde girlfriend in the entire school and have the whole peer group of their year caring for their needs to just even hang out with them. Lucas cut in, whatever, in a huff. Are you serious? Do you really need to ruin my little dream right now? With whatever? Can you just get over the little hurdle you are on and hurry the fuck up and make your mind up? I gave Lucas a disapproving look. I don't know anymore. Lucas doesn't seem to realize. Above it all, it's his stubbornness. That's the worst of all his fuck ups, whereas somehow he manages to make amends without trying hard to correct the problems he has caused. The amount of times Lucas reluctantly says sorry and restarts the entire process all over again is daunting and tiring. It's his silence that drives you literally insane. Smug and honest has always been my forte. Okay, a fuckload of sour dipping sauce to satisfy Lucas's mood, I retorted. Lucas gave me scornful eyes, followed with a cynical smirk. Lucas knows how to rile me up. He realizes this and uses it all the time. Doing nothing literally is worse than doing something. Deciding to leave the situation in the dust, I turn my attention back to Elijah. So, Elijah, what will you have, if not pizza? Elijah had been looking at the menu. I had noticed that he had done so many times, but Elijah now looked up and mumbled out, I think I'll get spaghetti. Spaghetti? At least it was a food of love. Do you remember that scene from Lady and the Tramp where the two dogs inevitably latch onto each other, same string of spaghetti, and they eat all the way to the middle? Imagine if that happened to Elijah and me. That would be better than any Christmas present I could imagine, or birthday present combined. That would be pretty cool. And the best part of it all was that it happened. Would be that if it happened, he liked it. My mind has a habit of going on a tangent. It never helps my cause any further because I'll start getting that little stressed feeling in my chest again. Soon, I'll be all worried about Elijah. Won't look at me the same way that I'm looking at him. So, desperately, I want to tell Elijah that I like him. So, I'm already sure just about everything he does is adorable. The way he walks, the way he smiles, even the way he's been reading the menu has something from, I don't know. The entire table erupted into laughter when Jack belted out with an exasperated sigh of relief. Oh, thank God. At least you like spaghetti. Jack grinned, grin, Jack's grin radiated outward, and everyone cued on the little astonishment that took place. Even Elijah had a grace to his smile, and finally, Scrooge himself in the corner showed a moment of clarity and decided to let out a giggle. If you really are in a shitty mood, you wouldn't exactly be able to outlast the happiness for the moment. Yes, I know it's only a conversation, but when something is random like that, I reckon it makes the moment golden. Elijah then changed his facial expression to a questionable frown. He is obviously trying to contemplate and understand what Jack is on about. Lucas now realized that Elijah actually liked Italian food, but what Lucas probably was trying to do is figure out to himself why would Jack even care about what sort of food Elijah likes. I go around telling Jack, or Jack tells me what food I should or shouldn't eat. It's not like I go around telling Jack or Jack tells me what food I shouldn't eat. Therefore, why is Jack so interested in the food that Elijah is ordering? The two of them have never hung out before. Jack has never really mentioned Elijah. Yeah, he knew of his existence in school, though you'd never think that he'd be in this close and personal to him. Neither did I. Elijah's confusion then dissipated. I decided that since everybody said their piece, I'd go order the food. However, Lucas would eat just about anything, so I don't think it really matters to him, and I'm not in the mood to really give him a question again, not until his Grinch mood is gone. Okay, so should I go order now then? I asked, getting ready to slide out of the boot and then march up to the cash register. Yeah, if you want, Jack earnestly said. Ben sat up in his seat, put one foot on the actual chair beneath him, and glanced out over Jack. Wait, Ben said. What's the plan? He continued, looking over to the group of boys for approval on the settlement we made. I realized that I didn't actually tell them what my plan is. Well, I'll just ask for the toppings to put on two slices. I don't know. That seemed a little unfair, but it's the best calculation I can do. Yes, I've been in the same situation before where some people order a pizza and then some people get more pizza than some others. So they don't actually get their equivalent because people are too busy munching it down. Luckily, all the groups I have been with usually ask before they take the last slice because I'm aware in some groups they don't. Okay, Ben offered, collapsing back into his chair. Is everyone okay with that? I asked. With nods from everyone, I mumbled, all right. Sliding out of the boot, I leisurely took my time walking to the counter. I contemplated about the turn of events. Two slices each is better than nothing at all, but what will I get everyone to drink? Yes, I'll just let everyone get their own drink. I'll just get pizza and spaghetti. Halfway to the counter, a voice ricocheted throughout the room, and out of confusion, I did a 360. I wish they'd keep it down and not attract attention. It's embarrassing and I don't like it. Relieved that there were only two other people eating on the far corner, I relaxed. I let my shoulders drop and my chest ease. Jack belted out, don't you need money from us? Partially making my way back to Jack, I said, no, I'm good. A moment later, Jack's witty side came into play. Nah, he takes bats with his money. I then headed toward the counter. I gave the woman who was at the cash register strict instructions on what the boys wanted on the pizza. I asked for a separate order of spaghetti, and with that, I made my way back to my seat. As I arrived back mid sentence, Jack said, it's scary, really. Sliding back into the boot, I glanced at Jack. What's scary? I asked. Jack broke his comment and glanced over at me. Oh, how Disney is taking over the world. Ah, that again. Jack has some notion that Disney is taking over the entire planet, and before we know it, they'll rise up with a bunch of machines and start dominating humans by imposing censorship. It is a scary notion that they are buying up nearly all of the competition in Hollywood. Yeah, competition. Doesn't that mean less movies and fewer TV shows or anything else? Because if they have a bigger cost, they are going to have to cut the total expenditure in half. They don't make movies anymore, not like they used to. Anyway, nothing like when I was younger. Disney makes blockbusters, but only for the net gross of profit as the shiny reward at the end of a hard day's work. Disney again, I groused. Dropping my head to the table, I cupped the back of my skull with my skinny fingers. Oh, how I would just love the world to go away right now. Seriously, Jack is talking about the stupidest things again. To make matters worse, Elijah cut in across this table. Well, he does have some logic to the discussion. Just great. Now Jack has Elijah on his side about his fricking annoying bubonic thing. Jack's been nagging on for the last couple of days nonstop ever since Fox was bought out by Disney, and he should now know because he is of course a massive fan. And since Star Wars was bought up also by Disney, he has criticized George Lucas's decision on it. To be frank, I couldn't give a fuck who or what owns which. My main concern is I have to listen to it from Jack on a daily basis, and now I'm going to have to accept it for the rest of the Christmas season from Elijah. Thank God Lucas is still in his moods. Well, he still appears to be, because he's not making conversation with anybody. He's just sitting in the corner there with his little pouty face, and anytime he has something intelligent to say, it immediately falls flat on his face. Of course I do. Disney has bought out Fox for 52 billion, Jack deadpanned. Okay, they're taking over the world, I smugly retort. If I just agree with Jack, he will stop talking about it. Peace of mind is what I really want, not a lack of it. And anyway, the smell of pizza is fresh in the air, so I could care less about Disney right now. The pizza is definitely going to be scrumdiddlyumptious in my stomach. Thank God he dropped the subject. Jack turned to me and asked, did you order the food? At least food is more important than Star Wars in his way of seeing things. Jack is like a child, simply one of those gamer kids who play all the Mario games and spin off collections for some weird comic diversions. Buying for Jack for his birthday and Christmas is easy. All you have to do is pick up something that looks overly childish and give it time, and no matter what it is, Jack will somehow find some enjoyment from the prospect of receiving such a childlike gift. If I bought him something from The Legend of Zelda or SpongeBob SquarePants, he'd still love it no matter what, but regardless, how can you deny SpongeBob or The Legend of Zelda? Shifting my position in the seat, I turned to face him. I didn't get anybody any drinks. I'll just let everyone do that themselves. Right? Lucas trailed off. Lucas didn't seem nearly as hot headed as he did earlier. He seemed to have calmed down and regained some of his senses. It is evident that he is still a bit in a shitty of mood, but he obviously is trying to work it through it. Feeling my heart heavy with a burden, and since it is Christmas, I think that letting go of all the bickering is the best form. Hey man, can we possibly just forgive and forget? I broached. Fine. Truce, Lucas grumbled. I guess if anything, I'd rather shake on it so that it was official. Doing so, I held out my hand and asked, can we shake on it? A tingle of apprehension rattled my nerves as I dangled my hand above the table. Waiting for his side of the truce, a moment of contemplation took hold of the situation, and then, after a couple of short breaths on my part, Lucas extended his arm across the table and shook my hand firmly. If we have to, Lucas groaned. Now, I'm not quite so sure that this was the best apology I've ever gotten from Lucas, so I still decided to roll with it. Come on, I whined. Let's not start off crappy like I gravelly offered. Lucas's eyebrows sullied up and his mouth curled as it rose. The boy's eyes grew wider, letting them linger momentarily on the table before brooding from disdain. When he had finally conjured up enough courage to rid himself of timidity, he said in low spirits, "I didn't mean what I said. I know, it's just. Never mind. Sorry for calling you stupid," I said. As a remainder of my emphasis, uh, I turned my left hand palm up and slapped the back of my hand against the left. Immediately, Lucas started chuckling. Everyone's eyes were set on Lucas and me, and they couldn't exactly help but smile at the exchange of words. All day, the two of us were for the first time all day, the two of us were actually talking, and we were finding amusement out of the whole thing that had started the disagreement. Well, the comeback was kind of funny, Lucas admitted. Yeah, I guess it was, I said. My rib cage began to rattle as another series of shockwaves took over in the form of laughter. Before we knew it, I was laughing quite loudly, and so was Lucas. Shake on it, then Lucas offered, free of any second thoughts. I gave my hand for the second time. We shook briefly, then redirected our concentration to the rest of the lads. So, what will we do after the pizza? I asked the group. There was still an unanswered question of getting Elijah a Christmas present, so I needed to collect it on the way home when most of the shops ought to be closing within the next hour. Thus, I best make it quick if I'm going to buy one. I wish I'd known him sooner, and that they would turn up on my doorstep. I wish I'd known that they'd turn up on my doorstep sooner. Of all the days, Christmas Eve. If Elijah had turned up the day before, then I would have been able to prepare for such a little hiccup. It's not really a hiccup in his case. Elijah lost his house, so I don't really see how that classifies as a hiccup. Jack offered, "We could go down to get Samantha a present." Lucas cut in, "Or we could go to the nearest park and throw a snowball at bums." The twins on either side of the table began to snigger to the dismissal and rotten ways of Lucas's antics and comic timing. I didn't think he actually meant it, but if he did, then it wouldn't surprise me either. "That's horrible," I rebuke. "Joking, joking, of course," Lucas sheepishly said. "Just a tip, Lucas. Think before you speak," I retort. The only way I can think of actually reprimanding him without getting into another fight again is to convert to sarcasm. Lucas doesn't listen. When you do try and say more to him, Lucas blows up like a goddamn volcano when he considers you're getting too close for comfort. This time around, Lucas didn't take any sarcastic approach to the idea of him going down to snowball a couple of homeless people as offensive in the least ways. Instead, Lucas found his way back to the humorous side of his personality. He returned to his full-on weird, goofy, and ridiculous mode. "Software updated," Lucas snidely added. Doing so, he lifted his right hand and carefully tipped the side of his temple with it for extra comedic effect. I cracked a smile. Elijah enthusiastically cut in, glancing over toward him. He said, "We could play some darts. I wasn't aware that they had a dartboard in this place." Elijah was pointing at. To see what Elijah was pointing at, I had turned 180 in my seat and leaned against the backrest. Jack hesitated for a moment before doing the same, and over in the far corner, there was a dart here to this joint. I never noticed it usually in and out. 9 times out of 10, just buying pizza and eating it at home. We could split into two teams of three, Jack enthusiastically put it in. Swiveling my head in his direction, I thought for a moment. I have never really been good at a strategy-based game. I have always weak in those areas. Sports too, though they're just merely from the effort. They're not appealing to me because I find them mind-numbingly boring. Who gets enjoyment out of observing a grown man running back and forth on a field chasing after a player with a ball, as if it were a miracle for 3 hours? and they dare to say that something as beautiful as singing is a waste of time. Well, I'm not the one that's screeching at the television, squealing at the top of my lungs as if my favorite NFL player could hear me. I don't quite follow it. I understand the adrenaline hype, but do you really have to let the neighbors know you're watching the game? Sounds like a plan, Lucas added. After all, I guess it is better than not playing anything or playing American football. Yeah, there is some humorous relief that comes from watching grown men running around the field like a 10-year-old, and every so often, dogs piling on top of each other. Oh, sorry, and often dog piling on top of each other. The entirety of our country tunes in to see this mindless comedy. Even Jack has become zombie like to their tricks. It's just bam in your face. It's everywhere you go and everything you look at. Some giant bald eagle or another form of farmyard animal will be fleshed out on their uniform as a mascot. If that's not embarrassing enough, I presume I'm obligated to feel embarrassed for the kids who have to dress up in the mascot outfits and dance in front of crowds. Why is it that they have to dress as a ridiculous and funny barnyard animal? I'll admit it's not the worst idea in the world, though. I imagine we have arrived at the final mark. I suppose everything has been invented, and I presume there's nothing else to create. Just something entirely new with a new approach to the topic. Elijah's idea, of course, will further us into the evening hours of Christmas Eve. I guess you can't deny the rivalry. Everything has that little deep rooted mechanism. If you're challenged, you're going to be challenged back. If competition arises, you are going to show that you're what you're worth. Moreover, if the anticipation proves worthy, you'll persuade them who is worthier. It's settled then, I offered, placing my hand on my stomach. My stomach grumbled with hunger. Deeply drawing in air, my nostrils filled with a sweet, succulent, burning aroma. My mind began to wander at the prospect of the warmed, doughy brown bread smothered in juicy mushrooms, ripe sweet corn, and crispy peppers. That practically makes my mouth begin to water. I can almost taste it on my tongue. When will the pizza get here? Of course, just like a team member on the opposing team in Call of Duty snipes you, a woman with a waitressing get-up stopped by the edge of our table. The overwhelming sweet savor of Italian splendor flopped down on the table. Imagining the taste of gorgeous food in my mind, I went into a whimsical rant producing an extra quantum of saliva. The oh so familiar taste of pizza, a puffy bread covered in cheesy and charred meat, called out to me to be eaten. Ben reached across the table, clutched the lid of the box, and lifted it. Oh, and that pizza is possibly the best looking pizza I've ever seen in my entire life. Looks so cheesy, it seems. And it smells delicious too. I don't think I can hold back any longer. Forget being a gentleman. Who cares if I look like a slob? Food is more important than general public appearance. Smells so good, Ben delightfully added. A radiant smile broke upon Ben's face once he saw the wonder before him. Ben reached out to get his rightful piece, and just like that, I knew I had to be the first one to get a slice. Shooting my hand across the table, I slapped at Ben's wrist to get my fingers into the box. Cupping the dough based part of the bread, I pulled it out, clumped in my palm. A slight chuckle rattled through my bones. Yeah, that was a bit mean, but still, pizza. Oh, pizza. Ben glanced back at me quizzically as if he were contemplating saying something. As if Ben was going to say, what the fuck was that for? I was practically there before you. Something about the moment seemed like a golden opportunity. Lucas chuckled, and soon the entire table entered a chortle at my display of affection for Italian cuisine. Soon all the rules were off the table. It was every man and every boy for himself. Who cares if the rules applied anymore? In the center of the table, there was a moment where just a series of hands covered over the box, and then next the pizza was no more. As quick as it had been there, all of it was torn apart. disheveled, shredded beyond recognition. Each of the boys. Oh, Jesus, I'm only halfway through. um, each of the boys lifted his hands to his hungry mouth and commenced with the process of mastication. Pizza of various ingredients rolled round in their wide open traps on display. If there were a relevant revelation of sorts on how to be genuinely and horrifically negligent, then everyone at this table will qualify for this worthy award. Everyone except Elijah. Elijah assembled himself in the corner, quiet and dignified, and slurped on strings of spaghetti. Oh God, the smell is so Lucas cooed. I couldn't disagree with that. Lucas is definitely on par with the smell. It is like totally mouth-watering, and it makes my stomach feel yum. Like there were no rules involved. You must shut up, shove a big, oversized slice into your mouth, and chew down until you're full. I could eat pizza every day for breakfast, dinner, and supper, and if it were possible, I could even add in lunch, brunch, and every little snack in between. If I were to do this, I'd be the size of a house or Miss Brady across the street. Seriously, though, she could cut back on a couple of calories. The woman is the size of an entire freaking house. Okay, that's a bit harsh. Size of a family station wagon, maybe. Um, exactly. That's right. Miss Brady looks like one of those massive buffoons, combined with Mr. Wilson. The two of them could join forces on the neighborhood watch police. They are always reckless when it comes to destroying the fun. That was terrible. The size of a station wagon. Seriously, Miss Brady is one of those women that sits in a lawn chair all day watching children menacingly ride their bikes up and down the block. Then, from some far off universe, she screams across the street saying you should not be riding on the road. Somewhere along the line, Miss Brady would go on to announce how some poor child will get the wind knocked out of them by a delinquent driver who drives swiftly through an intersection. Yeah, that seems to fit the picture. All I know is a heck. All I know is a heck who. Oh, a hack. Sorry. All I know is that she's a hack who has nothing better to do than moan and nitpick about the smaller kids on the block. Again, she might have shifted to teenagers now, and as much as I'd like 20 minutes where she never has a problem, Miss Brady has not singled me out in a long time. I hope she doesn't, but who cares about her right now? Pizza. Ah, pizza. And I'm eating it, and if she has any quarrels with me, I'll fuck an 18-inch slab of this stuff at our house. Yeah, it tastes even better than it smells, I said. I gracefully drew my lips up on a perch and smiled. Why does that sound weird? Lucas asked. Lucas swiveled around in his position, clutching a half chewed slice of ham pizza in his hand. The only thing that can be heard is the pent up sound of chewing. Somehow, I can imagine if all the lads were this messy at the table, it would succeed in driving Mom mad. Mom and Annie would say something along the lines, "What the hell are you eating? A brick?" I figured one does not realize one is eating loudly if the food is delicious. You're not going to care because you're going to chow down with enthusiasm. Because the phrase usually says looks, Elijah offered knowingly. Come to think of it, yeah, that did sound a little off. Yeah, it tastes better than it looks, Jack solemnly added. How does Jack manage to do that? I'll never understand how. All the years I've known him, he seems to master the iconic role of a wise elder. If Jack were to command a squadron going into war, they'd be the first to die in battle. Scratch that. I'll take that back. Jack will probably be the last person to die in battle because, after all, he is a little. Jack meticulously plans his approaches. He is the boy, a boy with all the brilliant ideas. Lucas is bound to be the first one to go out about dying. He'd run it out into the middle of the battle with nothing more than a pitchfork, screaming, "This is for our land." Somewhere along the line, I can only imagine him being naked doing it too, which will probably scare away the imposing enemy, but it's still funny notion to have. "All right," Lucas peevishly said. Silence took hold of the group while everyone snacked on their goods. Lucas finished his first slice and retrieved his second from a paper napkin in front of him. Lucas ravaged the thin slice and resorted to puffs of air. The offering was a little hotter than what Lucas expected it to be, therefore he worked, blowing on top of it to cool it. Seeing as how the moment can be taken, a joke surfaced in my head. Yeah, the time is convenient to take the piss out of Lucas. Lucas is blowing on the slice of pizza. Blowing, yes, the joke is pretty evident and I just cannot help myself. Yeah, blow on that, I slurred. Instantly, Lucas pivoted his head around to me and turned a shade of red. "Oh, yeah?" Lucas said smugly. "At least I don't suck." The tension in the room changed. Alpha male egos came out. Everyone in the room offered their acknowledgement to the spontaneous one liner. "Oh," they all added teasingly. You know how it is when someone says something inappropriate and someone catches the other person off guard. It is customary that all the boys in the group join in and repreciate to the smooth transaction of words. Yeah, well, I hate that when it's me at the forefront. Family station wagon, yeah. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. Um, okay, that was a little gay, Lucas said. I guess it was a little too honest. Yeah, I can understand that he was not being genuine about it in any way, but in summary, it seemed too close to home. Was it? I inquired. I didn't sound too desperate, but the statement that Lucas made somehow had me on edge now. Does he think I'm gay? Did Lucas hint that I'm gay? Does he smell the gay? Just like pizza? Okay, no. Back on track. This is no time to be thinking about pizza. Did I just say, did I just come out? What is coming out like? Am I still in the closet? I just think I'd better choose my next words carefully. Yeah, Jack said. Jack sat back and threw the pizza remaining stragglers of the crust from the pizza back into the box. And it made a clumping sound as it hit the cardboard. Oh shit, I've been found out. Okay, my heart is going berserk in my chest. It feels as if my heart is going to just spring out of my chest, like one of those magical little Jack in the boxes, and it'll just go boing, and my life will be over. What's the worst that could happen if everyone knows I'm gay? Will some of the hottest boys in school come up to me and ask for a date? That's just wishful thinking. Contemplating it just seems wrong somehow. Yeah, it would be nice to have like every boy drooling in my direction, and seemingly it would feel funny even to think of it this way. Yeah, it would be satisfying to make girls drool knowing that they can't touch me. A year or two down the road, I can only imagine I'd be off in a desert oasis with those big green palms shading my every whim, with beautiful half naked women, actually scratched out half naked guys, going to fetch me a lemonade. It wasn't, I offered. Oh, it was, Jack teasingly said. Just to prove the point, he gently nudged me in the arm. Nope, I added urgently. Shit, this is not going where I wanted to go. I need to think of something to change the conversation. Just anything. I should talk about how Jack possibly still sleeps with guardrails on his bed. I should talk about that shit. I'll change the conversation altogether to get this gayness talk over with. I nodded my head in protest. I have now been appointed, and as if Jack were looking for clarification, he turned to Elijah and said, Elijah, right? Jack openly declared. Immediately, Jack raised his hand to his head and slapped himself hard. The damage had been done. Elijah looked hurt. That was such a cruel thing to say. Why did you have to say that? I shouldn't. I should have just told him to drop it, just like the Disney thing. Then again, why did he even bring it up earlier when we were in the store? Is Jack gay? Yeah, like he wants to get up with all the guys. Not no, no, no. That's highly unlikely. That would never happen. Maybe Jack just wants clarification. After all, Elijah is the newest addition to our group. Though it's none of his business or any of my business, it would be kind of cool to know. Ah, shit. Sorry, Jack apologized. Jack grew quiet. He was obviously thinking about what to say. Not just to Jack, the entire group became silent too. Even the laughter in the crowd seemed to just vanish. Nobody is laughing and nobody is smiling. Elijah has stopped eating his spaghetti and has turned to glance out the window into the mall. Elijah seems nervous, anxious even. Elijah glanced at me, held my gaze embarrassedly, then shifted his attention to Adam and Lucas in the same seat. I think I need to go to the bathroom, Elijah glumly said. Doing so, he dropped his head on the table and waited for the two boys to move, but they didn't think that he was seriously getting up. In doing so, Elijah asked again, Can I get out? He said timidly. They reacted and started to shimmy out of the boot. They huddled out beside the divider between the small seating areas. Elijah dragged himself across the bench twice before standing up. The two boys sat back down as Elijah vacated. A moment later, he was gone. Everyone remained quiet. Nobody spoke out of turn. Matter of fact, nobody spoke. Everyone just zoned off into their thoughts. Ben looked out the window into the mall. Lucas played with the leftovers of a singular crust in the pizza box. Jack folded his arms and bowed his head slightly. It appeared that he felt guilty and partly responsible for what he had just said. Jack is not a bad person. Yeah, he may say something out of turn just like Lucas, but when he generally means well, he means well. I held my attention on the waitress who went about, presumably on her last call of duty. She went about cleaning and stacking chairs on top of tables before coming back out with a mop and a bucket to clean the floor. The restroom is tailored almost identically to the traditional American diner style. It is weird. I somehow kind of expected a waitress from the 1950s and a milkshake to come out from behind the counter. The only thing that somehow brings me back to reality is the occasional hints that it is, in fact, an Italian restaurant with the obsessive, almost intrusive red and white squared tablecloth on the table. Turning my attention back to the table, Jack trailed off. Jack seemed to be a little shaken or sad. It appeared that he knew he had said something wrong, and he must have been biting his tongue. What was what was that? I whispered. Any sense of life that had been at the table prior to Jack's statement had lost all hope of resurfacing. The entire table remained quiet. The two twins didn't murmur anything, though Lucas kept on snacking on a slice of pizza. Why did he get so sad about it? Ben hesitantly asked. Everyone's eyes were directed at him, and we all knew what to say, but we didn't exactly know how to say it. It is partly evident now, compared to Jack's statement from earlier and Elijah's reaction to what had just happened at the table. It made me realize that the possibility of him being gay is actually more out there than I initially thought. Does that mean I have a chance, or maybe even a slim chance, of asking him out? No, it seems almost weird to even contemplate it. After all, his family just lost his house. That would be a little selfish of me to think of even making a move. Then again, maybe Elijah just got sensitive to the comment. I didn't exactly say anything that I didn't say anything that he was gay or anything. Elijah just got a little sad and stormed off. No one wants to no one wants to know why Elijah disappeared when we were all having a good time. How do we exactly how do we tell him exactly? Yeah, you can come out and say that you're gay. Again, maybe Elijah's not, and he just got upset for the suggestion that he was. That's his business, Lucas sourly added. Glimpsing from Lucas to me, Ben didn't at all look convinced. He seemed to be questioning what transpired. Jesus Christ, is there an end to this chapter? Where are we? Okay. I need to take a second. I need to get a drink of water. The chapter just keeps going. That has to gotta be the longest chapter in the entire book. I mean, right. Of course, leaving the explanation to Lucas is probably one of the worst things to do. I think I'd have to offer him some sort of repressed excuse as to why Elijah just ran off. Well, maybe it's because his house is gone, I said. I think that came off sounding a little enthusiastic. Maybe the truth is the fact that he is sad that his house is gone. The other fact is Jack insulted him. I'm not sure that Jack technically wanted to insult him. I'm not sure, but the fact remain unknown. Lucas just sat back and continued eating as if what happened was no big deal. He really does have a funny way of showing empathy. His way of coping is slogging down another slice of pizza. That's the second slice, or is it his third? Is he eating other people's slices? That wouldn't surprise me. Lucas lifted the half chewed piece of his churning mouth and spoke with masticated food rolling around inside his mouth. Or maybe he is gay, Lucas blurtedly said. Lucas returned his attention to the pizza in his hand, and he tore another piece from the doughy bread. Not exactly sure how to comment on Lucas's statement, I reminded myself. I remained quiet for a moment until Jack spoke. I feel bad now. Should I go and get him? Jack said. I glanced over at him. He seemed genuinely hurt. How could that be? Is this a guilty conscience at work? At the same time, Jack is probably equally as sorry for doing it as Elijah was for being received on the end of the statement. He is taking a long time in the bathroom. I don't know, I said. It's not exactly a good idea for him to just turn up and say, I'm sorry out of the blue. Again, that is something I would do if I said something hurtful to someone unintentionally. Therefore, I guess some part of me deep down wants to be the communicator between both of them. I can be somewhere between them, and I can go from one to the other, and I can deliver their messages. That way, I'm growing a level of trust with Elijah. Plus, well, Jack, I don't really need to develop confidence there. I've known him all my life, and I have all of my life to work on such things, really. Elijah might be making a pit stop. What happens if he's gone after the holidays? That's a sad thought. I should apologize and bring him back, Jack said, glumly. The clunker of the hollow, dry pizza crust hitting the box on the table as Lucas flicked it out of his hand broke the moment. Reaching across the table, he pointed his finger at a couple of slices left in the box. I guess that was a waste of money. Now everything is getting cold. If Elijah even touched I doubt if Elijah even touched his spaghetti, which blows, kind of. I mean, why couldn't Jack have just waited until he got a chance to eat half of the spaghetti first? Are you going to eat your pizza? Lucas butted in. What Lucas is saying was not really having much regard. The problem with Elijah was far more important. Turning my attention back to Jack, I said calmly, maybe I should go talk to him. Do you think? Jack said. It is the first time that he has actually shown a spark of life for one of my ideas today. If I was in his shoes, then I'd want to go face something so cruelly put, even if it wasn't my intention. Of course, I'd take Jack any day before I take Lucas, because Lucas, well, Lucas says something and he fucks it up altogether. Not that he means it, all the same. When Jack speaks, he usually thinks before he speaks. Jack doesn't appear to think before that one. Jack didn't appear to think before that one. Isn't that what any sane, rational human being is supposed to do? They think before they speak, or you reflect before you act. Yeah, that sounds about right. I guess more people should look at life the way Jack does. That doesn't make Lucas invincible or untouchable from any of life's grievances. He is, of course, human, and he is bound to stray down the wrong path from time to time. I guarantee that I have done it a few times. Maybe more than a few times, but shut up. Just contemplate on how you're supposed to be doing. Noah, your mission's objective is to get up from your seat, go find that lovely, bubbly boy out there somewhere, or wherever he has gone, and make him love you. Okay, that was a little bluntly put. Maybe just be there for him first, before anything else. Pizza. Can I rescue it and eat it? Lucas bluntly cut in. Here we go again. Lucas is not getting someone's attention. He just goes off on a tangent. Shifting my attention back to Lucas, I scornfully said yes. Lucas didn't pay any regard to my agitated response. Lucas is just one of those people who keep poking and prodding you with a stick until they finally get under your skin, and you can't help but just shout back at them in frustration. A vivid image appeared in my head right now. Lucas standing over a corpse with a little stick poking and prodding it in the back of the neck, just hoping that somehow the thing will twitch and he'll somehow deep down get satisfaction. I have no idea why, a dead body of all things, but for some reason it just seems to fit the picture. Thank you, Lucas said. Lucas's lips began to sag and smirk. His eyebrows arched into a cocky face. He didn't think he just scooped up the pizza that he had asked for and began to nibble on it like a little mouse. Shifting my attention back to Jack, I tried desperately again to give him my undivided attention. Do you think Santa will know where to deliver Elijah's parents? Adam asked. Adam peered up from the table and locked eyes with me. Looking across the table, I didn't exactly know what to say. I'm not exactly sure if he still believes in Santa, but I guess it's inevitably true if he just asked me, does Santa know where to give Elijah his parents? Just when I'm about to start talking to Jack, I get thrown off the track with another ridiculous question. Oh, he knows. He's smart, Lucas wittily retorted. Lucas, and then back to Lucas, as if he were something. It really does go to show how crazy Lucas really is. Here I am trying to protect the idea of Santa Claus, even though I don't believe, but they still believe. The power of belief is what keeps them excited about Christmas. And when the idea is gone, it's gone. I think that Lucas would not be a little bit smug, since he practically believed in Santa all the way up till he was about 12. You could tell he still believed in Santa when you saw how he looked and asked for a new PlayStation for Christmas from Santa when he was about 12. It's ironic, even actually, kind of comical, how someone who steps and tramples all over the idea of Christmas now is one of the last children in our family to stop believing. Having left Jack and Elijah to their conversation to explain the whole Santa Claus thing to Adam, while leaving out the details that he was or was not real, I said to Jack, more or less, that I was going. He's been gone long enough. Maybe I should go and see what's taking him so long. The table calmed down for a moment, asked at me, and I readied myself to vacate the booth. Are you sure you don't want me to go with you, or? Yeah, it's fine, I replied. Funny, my voice is getting raspy. I proceeded to stand up. I started to walk off, then Jack stopped me. He reached out to me, grabbed hold of my wrist. Jack slumped over as if forgetting to tell me something extremely important, so I took a step back in his direction. He sat upright. I looked down at him and the boys at the table as he asked, "Will you tell him I'm sorry?" I just knew I was going to play a pivotal role in reuniting these two. It's kind of exciting to get in between the two guys. If you get my drift, that would be a hot thing in between the two of them. Mm, focus, Noah. Will do, I replied, giving him a bashful smile of sorts from the idea that loomed of us having a three-way, and having taken note of the apology, I headed from the table toward the toilets, where Elijah had last told us he was going. And then there's parts where I was reading, and oh, that concludes chapter 11. I hope it wasn't too, um, distracting with me. He's zoning out a couple of times there. I'm just a bit tired. My voice has also gone, you know, raspy or something since I've been reading the last week or so. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think I'll probably call it night this evening. I have a few thoughts today. Um, I get done tomorrow. The Christmas story that I'm writing for Christmas is actually coming along pretty good. You should have seen me today. I was printing out a load of I call it like a vision board or a mood board, if that's what you want to call it. Sometimes it helps me find the vibe, the feel of the story, and I also print out celebrities and that everything who I kind of envision what they kind of look like sometimes as well. And I have an entire wall of my all covered in this. But at the same time as well, we also had a plumber come to our house to install a new radiator, and he kept walking up and down the hallway, and the door was open to my office, and all he saw was probably all of this on the wall, and he probably thought I was very weird. But yeah, but yeah, um, yeah. So I've definitely been plotting with this whole mood board, and it looks quite Christmassy to me. So yeah, that's nice. Um, but anyway, yeah, I probably won't keep you too long here now because I did a lot of rambling at the start and I rambled a lot last night as well. So you probably want to head on and continue with your day. But yeah, but before I go, just I'll mention this one last time. Don't forget about the mailing list if you're not already on it. Tomorrow is the last day um, that this will be available before I close the deadline. So all you have to do is sign up to my mailing list if you want a signed copy of it, and you'll be picked randomly. But yeah, I'm also thinking about what could possibly happen after this whole live stream thing comes to an end. Is there anything you'd like me to do once it finishes? Would you like me to read possibly another book, or anything else? Maybe do a Q&A, or would you like to see my office, or do more like just random weekly events where I turn up and talk about books or films or games or anything like that? Or I don't know, maybe I could rope other authors into maybe doing like live streams or something like that with me. um you could probably throw a few comments or something like on one of the pictures, or send me a message on gay authors or whatever. um and I'm always looking for new ideas for content. um so that I can engage with more people. I'm not very good at engaging online, so I'm trying a few different methods now. But yeah, so I think that'll be it, guys. So thanks for tuning in and coming by again. It was nice to see you all, and I'll make the live stream for tomorrow night live after I've finished this. So yeah, I think that's about it. I hope you have a nice evening, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. So yeah, I hope you have a good day or morning or evening wherever you are in the world. So yeah, I'll see you. Bye bye.